Are you a beginner and you're looking to go offshore fishing, but you're saying to yourself, I don't want to make mistakes? Well, there's probably one guarantee, and that's what?
Oh, you're gonna make plenty of mistakes.
You're gonna make a lot. And in this video, we're gonna talk about the most common mistakes beginners make when offshore fishing. And the good thing about it is we were both beginners. I still am. And so we got plenty of experiences to share.
Yep.
All right, biggest mistake number one, Professor, in your mind, because you started to learn how to fish offshore here in the OBX. How many years ago was it?
Oh, it's probably been about 15, 18 years ago.
Yeah, okay. And so we're going to go back in time. What was biggest mistake number one for you?
Underestimating the weather.
The weather.
Yeah.
So in what way did you underestimate the weather?
Ocean swell size is different. You know what I mean? And it can change in the snap of your fingers. So I try to push the envelope on some days to try to go fishing when I shouldn't have.
Put your wife and son in potential harm's way.
Yeah, I mean, we would have been fine
Scare 'em.
and safe, but it just was not comfortable and it was miserable. And that's not why you go. You go to enjoy yourself and have a good time. You don't want to be miserable the whole time.
So I guess part of that is just learning, and this depends on where you are in the world, but learning how the wind conditions and the Gulf Stream all mix and what that leads to, right?
That's right. Because the wind can be blowing not very hard, but it can be blowing against a current and make the waves stack
That's a
up.
problem.
Yeah.
But it can be blowing hard in the right direction.
With the current.
With
and
the
not
current.
being rough.
And then it's like, man, this is great out here.
Yeah, beautiful. Even though it's blowing 20.
That's really, really wild. And that's the thing that took a lot of getting used to for me. That was quite difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that was big mistake number one. What's another one that you can think of when you look back as a beginner learning offshore that you found yourself making?
Not having the proper equipment.
Yeah, this is a big issue for a lot of folks. Easy to do, but at this point, I mean, especially with things like AI, you can go to AI, you can tell it exactly what type of boat you have, what type of fishing you want to do, and say, can you give me a list of all the equipment I could possibly need? And it'll blow your mind what it'll tell you.
Yeah.
But what were some of the things that you forgot or didn't have, Professor, in hindsight that's kind of silly?
Well, the one thing about offshore fishing is when you get a bite, you don't know if it's going to be a 2-pound fish or a 500-pound fish.
Yeah.
So you've got to be prepared for either of the two. You know what I mean? And that's kind of difficult. You know, if you're just a beginner, you throw a bait on and you get lucky to hook up to a 500-pound blue marlin, or just say you're fishing when there's bluefins around and it's a 100-inch bluefin. Man, if you don't have the right gear, it's done.
Yeah,
you're done for.
The gear matters, and that gets a lot of people too because it's very, very expensive.
It is
to have
expensive,
good offshore gear. All right, that was a good one. That was a good one, Professor. So make sure you got the right gear. Number 3 for you, Professor. Can you think of any other ones that were a common mistake of yours back in the day?
Not studying sea surface temperature maps.
Was it that you didn't study it, or you just didn't know how to read it?
Both.
Or both?
Both of the above. Once I figured out and did some research, figuring out what to look for and what the conditions are like, when it's like that, and just going to those areas where the fish are more concentrated, I started having more success.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to learn how to read those temperature maps, any just general tips for them?
Well, there's all kinds of online resources, and then most of the time, the service that you use to view the sea surface temperatures, they have tutorials that you can look at that show you how to read them, how to use them.
So don't be that guy or girl that says, I got this. Just watch the dang tutorials.
Yeah. It costs a lot of money to go do this, and you want to make sure that your efforts, are worthy. So you want to make sure that you put every little bit of homework into it to make sure you trip the success.
Yeah. Another mistake that a lot of folks make in the beginning is with bait choice.
Yeah.
Was that ever an issue with you?
No, I did research.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I always took pride in building my own baits. So I learned how to do that, of course, online. You can learn how to do anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Days.
So,
yeah.
and then had some locals show me how to do some things, and just main thing is be willing to learn and try to take it in. You know what I mean? Because there's people out there that are good at this stuff, and that's what they do for a living. And just try to take it in and learn.
Yeah, figure out what the locals are using for bait.
Yep.
Learn how to make that bait yourself, and then ideally you're off to the races. Yeah. All right. What other ones come to mind? I got a list here that I can blow through with you.
Help me out.
All right. So I got some, and you can tell if you have this problem. We're going to do lightning round here. Not having enough fuel.
I've never had that problem, but
this is a big issue.
It's a big issue.
And a lot of people, they will buy a boat and not anticipate how much fuel they might need.
Yeah.
So as an example of this, they might say, all right, well, it's 70 miles each way, and I should be good to go, but they didn't consider like how much they were going to run during the actual day itself, maybe, or whatever the thing is. And so you want to make sure that you just can't have fuel problems.
Yeah.
It's just not one of those things.
Make sure you have more than enough.
Navigation tools.
Very important.
Very important. And you've certainly upped your navigation tool game since the beginning. What, if someone's saying like, what navigation tools do I definitely want or need as a beginner, what would you say?
Well, you definitely need, a depth recorder, like a fish finder, and a chart. Chart's more important than anything you can do without the depth recorder, but chart, because it shows you all the bottom contours. It essentially tells you where you are in the world.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to have that. And I would say my other tool is radar.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to do any kind of running at nighttime, it's very important to have that. And for some reason, a fog bank comes through. I mean, I've trolled all day with my radar. It's stressful. There's been boats, literally feet away that you're trolling next to, and you just all day. It's so foggy, you can't see them. All you can do is hear their exhaust, and you're trolling by the radar all day long.
Yeah, and you can't see if it's foggy from being inshore. You don't know, so you can't assume. It's not a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
How about autopilot?
Very important when you're offshore fishing. It actually increases your fuel economy.
Right, straight line.
Yeah, you're running in a straight line.
People don't realize just how wavy we drive if we don't use autopilot. Right. I was shocked. I was like it's just realizing, oh my goodness, the difference between using autopilot, to your point, the efficiency level goes through the roof.
Yeah, and plus it's less stress on you. I mean, it's hell fighting the steering wheel all day, especially if it's rough.
Another one, not setting the drag properly.
Yeah.
Is that one that you've seen people make?
I have, because it's very important that you use a drag scale. Pretty much it's almost like a fish scale, but it's designed and you can use a regular fish scale for it, but they have scales that are designed just to measure how many pounds of drag or your reel is set to. And different species of fish have different settings. And but the last thing you want to do is have your drag locked down when you have that 500-pound fish hit that thing, and
because you're going to lose it. It's going to break your gear.
Yeah, it's going to break your tackle.
Yeah, not a win. Fishing in the wrong depths.
Yeah, it's very true. Again, do your homework. Study those sea surface temperatures, and depending on what species you're trying to find, do some research. What depths do they normally hang in? What areas are they normally there?
And then how about, there's a bunch here. Proper clothing, of course, is one. Staying hydrated, that's an obvious one. Overcomplicating techniques.
Yeah, sometimes simple is better. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of beginners feel like they have to pull 12, 15 rods, you know what I mean? And they just stay tangled up all day. You don't have to do that. You can catch all the tuners you want with a 6-rod spread. You know, 4 rods is all we run during bluefin season.
One that I like is being too impatient.
Yeah.
It's easy to get impatient out there because people don't realize how quickly the ocean can change.
Especially if you're listening to the radio. Somebody 3 or 4 miles away from you is getting some bites, and you just haven't quite got over your mark yet. You know what I mean? I find myself still doing that to this day.
Yeah. One thing I would recommend to everybody, and this I would add this as our final. It's like you're better off going with someone that has gone before.
Oh yeah.
I made a lot of mistakes when I was learning to offshore fish. The best thing that I did was calling you after years of not being in touch, but I'd seen your Facebook posts and you were slaying the fish offshore. I knew you were a local that knew how to go offshore. Called you and said, would you teach me how to do this?
Yeah.
And doing that, I mean, it would have been just the dumbest decision of my life if I had tried to go out of Oregon Inlet by myself and then learn to offshore fish by myself.
Yeah.
You can do that in the Potomac River and figure stuff out and make mistakes. But you don't want to make those same mistakes when you're going 30, 40 miles offshore.
No,
I just don't think that's very wise.
It's dangerous too. I mean, you're a long ways from civilization. The just getting out of the inlet is dangerous, and you just, even if you have to charter a boat, you don't have any friends that do it.
We've had people that have come with us
Yeah.
just to learn how to go offshore fishing here locally.
Yeah.
And we don't hesitate for a second. We want you to have your own boat. We
Right.
want you to go fishing. And this guy is great because he'll tell you all the secrets he knows because he wants you to be successful. And plus, you'll be another person out there in the water eventually that we can communicate with and we can work together.
That's right.
So don't reinvent the wheel. Make sure you get a mentor, learn from someone, and then once you get comfortable, then go. I think that might be, to me, that's the biggest one, because you don't realize how much is involved until you really start to do it.
It's pretty involved, yeah.
Yeah, it's very involved, but it's worth it. And we hope that if you watch this video, you're like, okay, I think I've got a pretty good sense for things. I'm sure we missed a few. And so if you're watching, leave some comments. What else would you add to the list? What was maybe the biggest mistake that you made when you first got going offshore? I mean, I'm sure there's some fun stories there. We appreciate you watching, and we appreciate your support of the channel. Come check us out. Slip number 92 here at Pirates Cove Marina, Manteo, North Carolina. SpeechlessSportFishing.com. Until the next time, everyone, stay salty.